Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show live from the Miami Book Fair, powered by Life Improvement Radio. You can check me out at neilhaley.com. I'm with my co-host Eric Remmel from Life Improvement Radio and Peter Elbridge of the Perseverance Network. And we are persevering through the final hour and almost final hour. You never know what can come and take place. And when the end is near and when I decide to close the doors to this amazing day, because always there could be an interesting author that jumps in and different things. And we remember that. Eric and I remember trying to go to like 7 o'clock one year. And that's, I guess our lives have changed a lot, Eric, in those 4 or 5 years that we are so busy with a lot of our projects that Sunday's a resting day in so many ways. But
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But we have another amazing guest on the program. I would like to welcome to the program Ben Blum, author of Ranger Games. Ben, thanks for calling. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's kind of go specifically enough to your background, Ben, and why you wrote the book.
Sure. So my background was as a scientist. I was a completely math nerd kid all the way up until age 25 or 26 when my younger cousin Alex, that I'd grown up with in Denver, Colorado, was arrested for bank robbery. And Alex had always been a very idealistic young guy. He wanted to join the military from the time he was very young. He made it through the selection process to be an Army Ranger at age 19. And then he just threw it all away for this insane crime that was organized by a superior in the Rangers. So I got involved in this project just out of a desire to solve the mystery of how this guy that I knew as a good, idealistic, patriotic young guy had come to be involved in such a bizarre crime.
Wow. Very interesting. Peter, question for Ben.
Yeah. I was looking at the description, I was looking at the background, and how did you kind of start creating the book? Because I imagine it was difficult at times, but also you had a path that you were going on, I believe, correct?
Had a what that I was going on?
A path.
Oh, a path. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the sense of what the project meant changed drastically over the almost 10 years that I ended up working on it. In the beginning, I really intended to write a book clearing my cousin Alex's name. As my family understood it, he had at first believed that this bank robbery was a kind of a training exercise that the superior had organized. Rangers often went out into Tacoma and kind of war gamed in Dairy Queens and casinos and banks to test their tactical skills. So I thought that Alex was just trying to stretch his tactical muscles before deployment to Iraq for the first time, which was the realization of his lifelong dream. And then over the many years that I worked on it, I gathered more and more evidence, spoke to others who were involved in the crime, most particularly the ringleader, Specialist Luke Elliott Summer, a possible sociopath and very intelligent, charismatic guy, and came to a somewhat different view of the crime. So there was a long and difficult evolution over the course of the years in the way that the story made sense to me and to Alex.
I can imagine.
Eric, any questions for Ben?
Yeah, I was just curious, Ben, what's been the feedback from the book? I mean, obviously this is a really interesting story. Like you said, it took you, 10 plus years to put the storyline together, and it was a story close to you because it was family. But how has been the feedback after the book came out?
The feedback's been wildly different from different quarters, which I guess is par for the course. This is my first book, so it's all new to me. So there's certainly the screaming 1-star Amazon reviews. I think a number of military readers in particular go into this expecting a military drama and find out that it's actually a really knotty kind of family mystery at its heart. But I think the feedback's been tremendous, except for those who are kind of angry at the military side of it. The family has been amazingly supportive. I think that's ended up being a very cathartic process for everyone involved in working on the book and seeing it. come to publication.
So since I didn't have an opportunity to read the book, was your cousin eventually freed of the crime? Or, I mean, I don't want to give away the ending to the book if someone's looking to read it, but was he actually sentenced, or did you help at all with the research on the book?
Yeah, he was sentenced to 16 months and was free by the time I started working in earnest on the book. He and I started corresponding while he was still in prison. In the first years, we worked very closely together, and then as I started finding more and more evidence that cast doubt on elements of his story, the relationship grew a bit more contentious, as you might imagine, although there's a kind of a surprise twist in the tale near the end that shifted our relationship yet again in a surprising new direction.
Interesting.
So, okay, let's go jump into specifically enough of why are you interested, from writing this, are you also interested in the fact of uncovering crimes? Is that something that you had as a fun thing that you did before, Ben?
Not so much. I don't know that I ever had the opportunity. But I did, in the beginning of this story, I was trying to, in some ways, just back away from my old analytical scientific bent and delve deeply into the emotional truths to show all these people as human beings in all their flaws and all their lovability. And then over the course of all the years of working on it, as all this contradictory evidence started to pour in, I found myself, surprisingly to me, falling back on those old analytical skills. I actually ended up, so my past career was as a computer scientist specializing in artificial intelligence, and I ended up kind of using my old programming skills to sift through a gigabyte of data that the FBI had harvested from the ringleader's computer and uncovering some evidence that they missed that cracked open new elements of the case.
Cool.
All right. Are you planning on future books? Like, do you have anything in the works or anything that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple of books in the works. I have one on the Stanford prison experiment, which was integral to Alex's legal defense. I've gone back and interviewed a number of the former participants and have a kind of new story to tell about it. And I have another that I've been describing as a love story about the mind. It looks at it's a kind of a popular science book and a real life love story all at the same time about the way that our kind of analytical minds and our emotional minds produce consciousness through a loving dialogue of growing mutual understanding.
All right. Sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. Where's the best place we can purchase a book and learn more about you, Ben? Where can we go?
My website is benblumauthor.com, and I link to a number of fine institutions. I'd recommend your local indie bookstore if at all possible.
Okay, fabulous. Thanks, Ben, for calling, and take care.
Thanks. Take care.
That's it. Okay, bye-bye. You're listening to the Neil Haley Show, powered by Life Improvement Radio, live from the Miami Book Fair, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.